The Empire State has long taken pride in the clay battleground called the Lebanon Valley Speedway. And once again, the Monsters and the Megas return to wreak havoc on this hallowed soil. And the top drivers in this game know to win here, one must remember to never lift. For 2 years, this has been a bucket list event for many, but back at the Lebanon Valley Speedway in West Lebanon, New York, it is time for Monsters in Megas 2023, but you can tell by these shots already, we are starting it under treacherous conditions. A torrential rain has swept into the valley. It's lightened up, but you can see there's still some drops coming down, but that's not going to stop the fans or us from the work we've got to do to put on a show here this weekend. Ryan Hogenkamp and the Never Lift crew working their tails off to keep this track viable for competition this weekend, and we are going to get right into it because we have to go quickly before another storm rolls into the valley. Hopefully it'll hold off, but right now we're going to get into round one of Monster Truck Racing. Remember, the winner of the Monster Truck bracket will face the winner of the Mega Truck bracket. Normally we start with qualifying. We don't have time to do that here today because of the rain. We have to go right into action. Triton Robbins out of Lawtons, New York, the western side of the state, taking on Mr. Excitement in Avenger, who may have the advantage with the Ukraines. We'll wait and see. No contest there. Triton Robbins sliding all over the track. Although we see the sun peeking out from behind the Taconic Parkway, so that's a good sign as Robbins works to get off this track. And if you've never been here, you've never seen a show in the rain here at Lebanon Valley, it is it's comparable to an ice skating rink when it rains here. Now we got a lot of rain, so it really pulled the mud up off of the top layer, and there's a little more goo on the track than there normally is at one of these events, but underneath of it, it's hard as a rock. It's like a piece of slate with oil on top of it. It is just slick as heck as our next pair rolls out to stage. That will be Plain Crazy, the teammate to Crazy Train. That is Montana Robbins out of Lawtons, New York, taking on another member of Team Scream, that being Joe Foley in the rebodied Axe. Brand new body on this thing. If you watched our coverage from Hagerstown, you know this truck got tortured out there, so we'll see what he has here against Montana Robbins. Going to be the place to be tonight on this muddy track, and it's quite obvious why. From that end zone shot, you can see the camber of the track makes it very, very difficult to keep it straight as you are fighting the downhill pull while trying to make your way down the track. It's hard to just stay after the throttle when the truck is drifting left the whole time. Montana Robbins, the benefactor of the lane decision there in the big blue Chevy, the Empire Flyer from across the state in the Buffalo, New York area, Lawtons to be exact. Joe Foley will be back, though. I guarantee you he's got something for these fans in freestyle. Now, team that's been running around the country this year, the Warp Motorsports team, Preston Perez with the windshield popped out on Toxic, going side by side with Brian Wright out of Grandy, North Carolina, driving the Virginia Beach-based Stone Crusher. Steve Sims, the owner of that vehicle. We've also got Hooked in action here tonight, that being driven by Frank Krimmel. We'll see in just a moment. Let's see, can Preston Perez take advantage of that bottom lane and beat one of the toughest in competition here this weekend, Brian Wright? Wright started to come back on him at at the end, but Perez was just flying on that bottom side. Look at Wright trying to get it stopped. It's a good thing they can't really get ahead of steam going, or they would slide all the way into the turn one wall. Perez getting the okay with it. Now he wants to know if he's going to go back to that starting line area or back to the pits. So he'll get that truck parked and we'll bring our next pair out. The next pair will include his teammate, kind of his boss here, Corey Snyder, in the Illuminator, the Metal Shop chassis, the Signature Series truck. Again, Warp Motorsports taking on Steve Sims' team out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. Frank Krimmel in Hooked out of Detroit, Michigan on the high side. And those bottom lane blues are a sweet song tonight as Corey Snyder takes the big blue Ford into the next round. I believe that means he has to match up with his own teammate Preston Perez in his old truck. So Snyder knows what both of those machines are capable of. Warp Motorsports doing their job here this weekend. So we've got two from the Warped camp into the next round. One from Team Scream and one from the Lawtons, New York-based team of the Robbins family. So looking good here so far, in spite of the rain, as the Never Lift crew keeping things on the move, trying to keep the traffic low in that pit area. Very busy hot pits here tonight, and they're going to have a lot of cleaning to do before tomorrow's action, but they're still going to keep the action rolling along. Good crowd on hand here tonight. You can't keep the fans of monster trucks down for anything as they go to work pulling the windshield out of Stone Crusher. There you see Stick down there helping out Brian Wright. Dennis Anderson in the house tonight. Stay with us as the sun sets over the Parkway. We'll be back with more action from Monsters and Megas.
This Back Channel Productions program is brought to you in part by Monsters Monthly. Stay up to date with photos, videos, event info, and more at monstersmonthly.com. And by Crush This. For an inside look at the monster truck phenomenon, check out Crush This, a monster truck podcast.
Never Lift Motorsports brings Monsters and Megas to the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania Motor Speedway, June 22nd and 23rd. See 6 of the biggest monsters on the planet battle 6 of the toughest megas in the country, featuring the return of hometown hero Dan Cheech, Agosh, and Raminator. Tickets available at ppms.com. Monsters and Megas presented by Never Lift Motorsports, June 22nd and 23rd. Brought to you by Camping World, Northeast Custom Flatbeds, and Dungeon Designs.
There's only one place in the world you can find this much old school cool. Freedom Racing Monster Trucks. The home of Cyclops and Unnamed and Untamed. Get yourself a limited edition toy at freedomracingmt.com.
This Back Channel Productions program is brought to you in part by RPM Army, the place to get your motorsports fix.
Back at the Lebanon Valley Speedway in West Lebanon, New York, as the sun sets behind the mountains. It is twilight time. Before we bring the Megas out in just a moment, we wanted to take you through just a couple little highlights of the tough truck competition that took place. And you can see these guys couldn't get traction to save their lives. You thought it was tough with those big Terra tires. These guys are actually getting down in the goo, and they've got to try to drive their way to the end of a very tight course. It's not a long one, but they are having to hammer down and not really go anywhere. And this is a bad place to be with a front-wheel drive vehicle right now, as four-wheel drive is exactly what you want. But you can see everything is coming apart. This guy lost the rear suspension. You can see the trailing link come off of that thing. We have sedans, just about anything you could want in this competition. And here's why you want that speed. These jumps are not low. Hung the big sedan up in between the crush cars. Now, here was an interesting matchup. Down on the bottom side of this thing, the Trailblazer getting into the crush cars, but watch what happens here. Can't fit two vehicles in a hole that small. A lot of smoke, fire, and crushed metal on that run, so the fans getting their money's worth tonight. If you want to check out more of the Tough Truck competition, that will be available in raw form on our channel very soon. Keep your eye out for that. Right now, we're going to go into round one of our Mega Trucks bracket. Remember, the winner of this bracket will take on the winner of the Monster Truck competition. Dirty Looks, the white machine in the near lane out of Jacksonville, Vermont. That being Raleigh Klein, taking on Wallingford, Connecticut's Kyle Rainey in Strictly Business. Pair of diesel-powered machines here. And Klein not looking too bad. Diesel may help you here, especially when we get into the wheel speed of those big blower motors. Even those big cleats, those racing canes, don't want to hook up on this slick surface here at the Lebanon Valley Speedway. One of the reasons is there's not a lot of soft dirt to grab a hold of. This is a very hard-packed track here in eastern New York. We're about 10 minutes from the Massachusetts border, by the way. And got a lot of fans from both sides of the state, all over the Northeast and New England, here to watch the action. Up next, just showing off Dave Rayner, the blue Ford out of Morris, Connecticut, taking on Hainesport, New Jersey's Bobby Sage, the tall Chevrolet that is Dirty Jersey, waiting on the green light. Give those thumbs up. Right now, you can see it's a struggle just to get these trucks to the line, especially in that top lane. Sage with a good takeoff, trying to hold on to it. Not gonna do it, and it's a good thing Rayner got ahead of steam getting out on him. Those two trucks would have collided at the end of that run, so it looks like Just Showing Off will actually make his way into the next round to take on Raleigh Klein. Now as Dirty 30, the original Monsters and Mega Champion, comes out to take on Sarge. Tim Manny in Dirty 30 out of East Freetown, Massachusetts, and Sarge, Nick Racine out of Asbury, Massachusetts. Pair of guys from right over the border coming to play here. Little burp in the throttle there from Dirty 30. Look at Sarge, get him out of the hole. Can Racine hang on to it? Not gonna happen. The square body Chevy comes from behind to pick up a victory out of the top lane. So we've had two victories out of the top side of the track in the Mega Truck bracket. Look over there again at a dominant force on this thing. Guy who was runner-up here last year, that being Gary Sabella in old number 6. Quite a history on that machine. And a legend in the mud bog community, Jim Doug, above the law out of West Kingston, Rhode Island, the North Carolinian in the top lane. What a race. Sabella gonna hang on to it. The Richard Midget horsepower going to work in the mud, and he had to keep that thing straight, but the top lane seems to be a nice home for these Mega Trucks. May have turned the tables on the monster trucks here a little bit. We'll see if the lanes change up at all when we put the big Terra-Tire machines back on this track. Now, Matt Fenwick, who has quite the history with this track, his first year here, pretty well destroyed his truck, the Gladiator, out of Pittsfield, Massachusetts. He goes side by side with the Anderson family, Weston Anderson and King Sling, and it's a blowout. Weston Anderson full throttle all the way down. Look at this, he's still in the throttle. Give him a little freestyle on the end of the track. It's hard enough to shut down anyway. That will wrap up our Mega bracket. We're going to reset things, and we will be back in just a moment from here at the Lebanon Valley Speedway. The Monster Truck Semis on the way. Stay with us. to West Lebanon, New York. Monsters and Megas 2023 underway. And we are into the Monster Truck Semi again. Action moving very quickly after a show delay that actually held off introductions and the pit party for well over 2 hours. That is how hard it was raining here. Stormy conditions almost canceled this event. And fortunately, we were going to get it in here tonight, but having to skip qualifying due to how long the show was actually delayed to get all these fans in here right now. And that back row of seats may look empty, but they are all dancing on the roof. They're in the suites tonight, staying out of the weather. It's foggy out here, a little bit of smoke from the fireworks, but they're having a blast. Now, our first matchup of the semifinal round in the Monsters is the matchup that determined one of the two Monsters and Megas Monster Truck Championships here last year. The win went to Jim Kohler and Avenger, but Montana Robbins would love to get an upset win here. He knows he can do it. He was fast, he was aggressive, he was impressive last year, and he's got the bottom lane. A lot of sparks out of the front end of Robbins' truck, but I don't know if it hurt him at all. Look him slide around onto the pavement. That's where you want to get, by the way. When you get to the bottom end of this track, it's actually paved down there. You can kind of slide it to a stop. Big tires act like a pencil eraser. Make a lot of friction down there on that rough asphalt right now as he heads back to the pits. And again, there's definitely some sparks coming out of there. He looks to maybe have a brake caliper dragging or something, but Jim Kohler will move on into a championship race. He's been here before. See if he can pick one up tonight, and he's definitely going to be going after one of the two Warp Motorsports machines. We're going to take another look at this run. Kohler hanging on to it. Look at him spinning the mud out of the treads when he took off all that wheel speed. And it looks like the top lane may be coming around. We'll wait and see how it works in the next pair, because it looks like Corey Snyder is going to have that top lane against his old truck, Toxic. He knows what both of these trucks are capable of, and we know that Corey can win a drag race. He did so earlier this year over his own truck. Let's see what he's got now on a very, very muddy Lebanon Valley Speedway front stretch. Perez putting a gate job on the old Illuminator, and Snyder almost gets into the wall. The Illuminator sliding around. Both those guys working to get those trucks stopped again. It looks like the top lane was coming around there for a bit, but I don't know. That was a pretty typical run for a wet night here in the valley, because Snyder could not get going at all. So it looks like the bottom lane may still be the place to be. We will see where Kohler puts Preston Perez, because he will have lane choice going into that final round. One more look at it, you will see Snyder fighting the truck uphill. He's just wanting to come down the front stretch, the rear end stepping out on him, and when you are trying to wrangle a truck back in, it is very hard to pick up speed. And then watch him again. Both of them getting sideways at the end and trying to avoid things down there. Perez trying to avoid a freestyle obstacle that was just off to his left. So we bring the mega trucks back to the line. Dave Rayner in just showing off, taking on Raleigh Klein. A little bit of race fuel, a little bit of diesel on this one. As Rayner on a dry track would be the odds-on favorite here. We will see which direction it goes. Klein out of Jacksonville, Vermont. Rayner out of Morris, Connecticut. Ford and Chevy body machines. Alcohol and diesel going at it here. Rayner on that bottom lane, but he was so quick. It looks like the track may be digging up a bit too, and that could be helping these guys get a lot more traction and make their way down the track. Now, Dirty 30, Tim Manny, as I said, won both nights of the 2021 Monsters and Megas Championship. Not only the Mega Truck bracket, but won the overall, racing against the likes of Greg Witchenbach and Crustacean. Now, having to do battle with Gary Sabella. We will see Manny, not one to say he's outmatched by the Anderson clan. Some people have said the Anderson clan running more horsepower than a lot of these guys can deal with. Manny says no way. He's about to lay one down on Gary Sabella, and he's got the bottom side. He's right where he wants to be. They wait on the green light. Thumbs up from both drivers. Here we go. Both of them all over the track and grounds for penalties on both lanes, but if it's a double DQ, it's going to be first to the line, and that means Gary Sabella will pick up the victory in old number 6. In fact, they may not even be counting a 2-2 rule because of how slick it is here tonight. It's hard enough to get the truck to touch the obstacle, let alone go over it straight, but you got to tip your hat to Tim Manny trying to go after Gary Sabella here as two machines from yesteryear go at it here on the front stretch. Sarge, Nick Racine in that machine of Asbury, Massachusetts, and Weston Anderson in King Sling out of Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. Anderson really pushing King Sling hard that time. He almost got himself upside down. Sarge went for a ride as well. Gonna have to get another look at that. Sling gonna get the win. Anderson, but he blew a tire on the run. We saw the air coming out. You can see the tire going down. That could cause a problem here. Don't know if they have the means to make the tire change right now. Watch him on the end. Both of them almost got on their head. Both to the middle. Watch the scene right here. And there you can see the air coming out as Anderson pulls off the track. You can see that wisp of air. There you see Dennis and Brian Wright taking a look at it. Once Stick gets in there, he'll diagnose it and see if they can indeed get themselves back in action. It looked like Wu set it over there to look at it. Saw Frank Krimmel down there. They want to see a race between Weston Anderson and whoever wins this bracket. I do know that, but don't count out any of these megas. They have just as much a shot as anybody to take a victory here. Preston Perez lost apparently on the track as he's headed the wrong way, but he's about to take on Mr. Excitement, Jim Kohler in Avenger. I think he was just trying to avoid Kohler, thought he was going to back up, maybe not see him, so he was politely getting out of his way, although now he's right behind him. Drive up and bump him right now, I think. I don't know what Preston's doing, but we are in our Monster Truck Final and taking on the man who was his boss at the beginning of this season. Perez driving axe for Jim Kohler during first quarter while his son Chris Kohler was away at school, and now Perez going to take his shot at one of the now legends of monster truck competition, Mr. Excitement, Jim Kohler out of Columbus, Michigan, pulling to the line. Again, the tire advantage. You got to wonder, will it remain? Look at all of the junk that he's picking up in between the treads, and it really does hurt you because it smooths out the surface of the tire. Perez has the same thing going on there, though. He's on the top side, though, that's been more slick. So if he has any hope of beating Jim Kohler, he is going to have to gate him and hold it to the wood all the way down, but he's got to hope that he's got a good line on those cars because that truck is going to want to drift to the middle. Kohler staging up now. There is no one right now in this facility that Kohler wants to knock down more than Preston Perez. Toxic and Avenger for the Monster Truck Finals. Perez got him off the line. He hangs on to it. Preston Perez in Toxic picks up a Monster Truck win in the bad lane. How about that? That was not on anybody's bracket sheet. They thought that was a shoo-in for Jim Kohler right now. I think Perez just showed him something out here. Stuck to it, waiting to find out. Got the thumbs up from Ryan Hogenkamp. The fireworks are going off. Mr. Excitement pulling back into the pits. A little celebration there for Perez. We're going to get these trucks ready for freestyle, but that victory had to mean a lot to a guy who's been a fan of this sport for so long, and getting to drive on one of your bucket list tracks in a piece of equipment like Toxic. You know, when this truck was built for the P-Tris back in the late 2000s, we knew they had a good piece underneath them. Warp Motorsports has really taken it to the next level. Patrick Enterprises adding a little tubing underneath, getting it up to date with all the newest, latest, and greatest equipment. And this truck, absolutely a dominant force anywhere it goes, taking on maybe the dominant force here this weekend. Mr. Excitement, Jim Kohler, as good as he's looked, he had the good lane, but Perez was just so fast on the run. And there you see Kohler. I don't know if he's stunned or not, but a little bittersweet victory for the Team Scream Camp, because Kohler has taught this kid some lessons over the years, but Perez definitely turning into quite a driver as his career goes on. He'll head back to the pits, and we will get ready now for our Mega Truck semifinal round. Dave Rayner coming to the line against Raleigh Klein. Rayner in the previous round ran a 8:53. Klein ran a 9:32, so these guys were here before. That was all Dave Rayner, so just showing off. Will head on into the championship round. He will either face Weston Anderson or Gary Sabella, but Anderson has yet to fire the truck, so Gary Sabella may get a bye run. In fact, with the rainy conditions, he may get a straight pass on into the championship round. We'll wait and see. He's sitting there on the line. There is some conversation on the backside. I do see Dave Rayner has not pulled into his pit spot yet, so he may be coming. He is. Dave Rayner is going to come straight back around. They just sent him right back out to the track. And just showing off, we'll take on old number 6. You got to give an edge to old number 6 with that big Richard Midget blower motor in the front, but Rayner's not going to give him an easy run in the dent side Ford. He's been a fixture here at this event every year. Fans love that big blue Ford Mega Truck. The Willis down on the near side. This should be a good run. He has to come right back at it. But Gary was not waiting around to see how that went. He took off on him. What a run for old number 6. That was a straight shot there. He beats Toxic in the Monsters and Megas overall championship as he celebrates up on the front stretch. Gary Sabella picking up a mega victory. Stay with us. The finals are on the way next. We are back for the Monsters and Megas overall championship final here on night number 1 at a sloppy Lebanon Valley Speedway. The flashing red light over on the left-hand side of your screen, we see the back up there. Been keeping your eye on it tonight, giving you a good indication of the whole shot advantage these guys have been taking. And here's the thing, Gary Sabella opted to run the top lane, being that the Megas tend to do better on these wet tracks. In general, they tend to actually fare better with the amount of cleat, the amount of grip they get, and just the weight advantage that they have over these monster trucks. But I mentioned the history on that old number 6 machine. Well, that pair of frame rails used to be under one of the old Gravedigger, street truck. Now up underneath the Gary Sabella's old number 6 Willis vehicle, and Ryan Anderson had his hands on that truck at one point, and now going side by side with Preston Perez. I don't even know if I call it a blowout. It was a clear-cut victory, but you got to give it to Preston Perez. He did not let him get him off the line. He gave him a run to the first jump, but once those big cleats hooked in, old number 6 was gone. Gary Sabella, a little thumbs up there to Perez as he rolls around. Big win here in the mud for Gary Sabella. This was a tough track for everybody in terms of racing. Now they get to freestyle on it, but man, there was no easy get in this bracket. And again, Perez did not let him put a gauge job on him. Sabella works to keep that thing out of the wall. We'll see what they have to work with tomorrow night. Hopefully they have a dry track. There's no more rain in the forecast, and the last storm that was supposed to come through missed us. So it looks like we're going to be okay for the time being. But Sabella ran a 7-second flat run in the Mega Truck Finals. Just ran a 7:27 in that round. And Perez ran a 9 flat. Now we're going to go into Mega Truck Freestyle. Here comes Jim Doak in Above the Law out of West Kingston, Rhode Island. And this guy is not afraid of anything. And he's in big time trouble. Hard hit for Jim Doak. Above the Law lands top down on the front stretch of the Lebanon Valley Speedway. There you see the ambulance already dispatched. That was a very, very hard rollover. He's had a few of them in his career, but that was a bad one. That was rough. I don't know. And maybe when we go back to the replay, we'll be able to see there's a K-rail for the Monsters and Megas to try to do stoppies when they're out there. And I don't know if he forgot that was just a raw K-rail he hit the back of. It launched him nose down. That was a hard, hard hit. That'll throw a monster truck off kilter, but those 48-inch tractor tires on those Megas certainly don't like it as we watch it again here from the starting line end of the track. Look at that hit. You see he got on the throttle, but it was no-go once he got as far over as he did. Just hood first into the hard-packed dirt here. Look at this. Bang! Right there, and it pitched him so hard that throttle was going to do nothing. He just let out of it and held on for dear life. He is talking to the emergency crews right now. He's dazed. We do know that. But he is out of the truck, fortunately, and walk him back across the track. A lot of damage. I don't think the old blue Mustang is going to be back anytime soon. He's probably done for the weekend, so see who takes his place. Plenty of Mega Trucks up here in the Northeast, but nothing quite like old Jim Doak. What a run. Short and sweet, but not the kind of sweet he wanted to be. He turned the crowd on, but that's not what he wanted to do now as Bobby Sage rolls out in Dirty Jersey. The big, tall S10 out of Hainesport, New Jersey. Watched this guy last year try a backflip, and you can see, I don't know if you've noticed it yet, but they do have the backflip ramp out here. They got the trench box in there, and we'll see if Sage takes a shot at it. I don't know for sure if he will, but we know he's not afraid to do so. As the top of that thing is still dented in from last year. Didn't quite go well for him. He sort of stood up on the back and flipped over, but got the crowd on their feet, saw a little destruction, and that's what they come here to the Lebanon Valley Speedway to see, a little destruction, especially when the Monsters and Megas roll into town. Again, tip of the hat to the Never Lift crew for getting out here after the storm and quickly grooming track, trying to give them something to work with, and they're definitely working with it. Bobby Sage working his way around. Looks like up there in turn one had to get flipped around there. We lost sight of him for a second out behind those rollaway grandstands. See what he's got. Yeah, a little out of shape there. Tips it. Oh, didn't want to do that. Oh, listen, maybe he did. I don't know. Bobby Sage, not quite right in the head. He ends up on his side. That's going to be tough to get that thing back over, as tall as that truck is. Look at this. Just drove up the side of the flyaway on the back of the backflip ramp. And he's going to head on back into the pits right now as they right that truck. We're going to send Dennis Anderson's King Sling out on the track with Weston at the wheel, taking 2 lucky raffle ticket winners for a ride here on a muddy track. Give the fans a chance to see what it's like to get hit in the face with slop. As Weston certainly ready to give them a ride here tonight. Quite impressive. You can tell how much heat those Zoomies are cranking out. You get a look at these trucks once they stop. The amount of dried mud that's caked on the side, you know how hot the air coming out of those is. Traditionally opening up Monster Truck Freestyle with the King Sling ride-along. Best seat in the house right now is Dennis Anderson, a long-standing relationship with the Commander family, owners of the Lebanon Valley Speedway, and keeping the tradition alive. Always loved doing this event for many, many years in his old truck, and now having the family out here, the ride-along, giving the crowd something different. Thing is building up just a ton of crankcase pressure. You can see the blow-by coming out of it. A lot of vapor there. What a run. A lot of noise. You can see the fireworks definitely leaving a lot of smoke on the track. Hey, we were just getting freestyle underway. The monsters have yet to run. When we come back, the real carnage begins. Stay with us.
Hey, welcome to Wild Man Adventures. We're at the Silver Lake Sand Dragway. There really wasn't any off-roading back then. It was all off-road. We're on our way to Lima, Ohio. Got wooden wheels.
Oh, it's slippery as all get out.
Hey, we're here with Rich Cummins. Hey, we're here with Mike Potter. Hey, we're here with Alan Pizzo. Gotta check it out. This week we're going to go down memory lane.
Welcome back to a muddy night in West Lebanon, New York. Lebanon Valley Speedway, about 10 miles from the Massachusetts border, as the monster trucks get to freestyle in Montana Robbins in Plain Crazy, trying to work with an ailing truck right now. You can see the sparks still coming out of the front end. Looks like he might have the brakes binding, but right now just trying to seek out a little traction to start his freestyle run. But he has to be seeing those sparks coming out when he looks down under the Lexan. strides for this old Chevy body on this thing. They're going to have a whole new look come 2024. Awesome design by Ethan Saunders that they're very proud to debut beginning of next season. Right now, though, looks like he's going to roll off the track. Not the run he was hoping for, but something not right in Plain Crazy. So Montana Robbins just getting them started. A little noise, a little thunder, kicking up a little slop, and we're about to go freestyling with our next competitor, and it's going to be Mr. Excitement, Jim Kohler of Columbus, Michigan, in the Avenger. As you see right now, Corey Snyder trying to get some slop off his windshield. I don't know if they're going to end up just taking that thing out or not. Right now, though, looks like they're leaving it in. As Kohler gets the green light for freestyle. We'll see what Jim has. Out of Columbus, Michigan, the Corey Rummel built Avenger. These guys do a lot of in-house work. These are some very, very heavy machines that come out of the Team Scream stable. And there's a reason for it. Again, they build their housings different from everybody else. They build their chassis different from everybody else. Very wide trucks, too, but they will take a beating, and we'll see what he's going to deliver to it here as he gets himself set up, having hard enough time getting it turned around. Let's see if he can get some hang time. Working those center jumps nicely. Again, it's just some buried K-rails. We can see a little abrupt hit will send a truck airborne. Not worried about what's in front of him, just getting the speed up and throwing the truck into the obstacle. I'm going to give the track crew a lot of work here tomorrow because they're going to have to clean up all these jumps and then try to flatten this stuff back up. All that dirt they're tearing up is not going to stay fluffy. It's going to harden. There's going to be some big clumps on top of the nice racing surface here, and that'll create a very uneven track, as uneven as it's been here tonight. Remember, the win in monster truck racing came out of the bad lane. The win in the overall championship came out of the bad lane, so kind of evened up by the end of the event. Kohler works his way around this very slick track. Look at him trying to get it locked up. Luckily slammed into the race lane there instead of the wall. So he's going to wrap the run up in Avenger. Had some good moves in this thing. He's going to raise the bar for sure, but I don't think it's going to be enough to pick up an event victory. Mr. Excitement looking good. The big green Bel Air out of Michigan. Wrapping it up, slinging the slop as Corey Snyder heads out in the metal shop built Illuminator out of Frederick, Maryland. Running the name his father built years and years ago on the old Virginia Giant 3 chassis, to be exact. Sold the truck and the name, bought the name back last year, brought it back out for competition, and they are ready to go full force now with the Illuminator on the T2 chassis. You see the green lights representing Warp Motorsports underneath. Jay Snyder in the event lighting industry. This is his baby, his concept. First guy to do a light rope truck. Like it's offering a lot in the way of hits right now. That seems to be maybe not the place to go once they figure that out. Let's see if they stick down here with some of these big obstacles. I'm interested to see if they hit some of these more square, like the ambulance down there, the pyramid, because if you get stuck on that thing, it is going to be a pain to get off of it with all this slick stuff on the track, and you hit wet paint, basically, wet metal. You're not going to go anywhere if you high center. Those ambulances we learned last year do not budge. Get a little raw fuel out of the headers right there. Remember, they just put an engine in this truck after blowing one up last week in Hagerstown, Maryland. So doing the 2 legendary Speedway tours right here. And working this track for everything it's got right now. Trying to lay it down here in the Illuminator. And he's going to wrap up the run down there near turn 1 on the far end of the track. I don't think they're going to get to pick and choose too much where the runs end. They're just going to go where the track sends them. It looks like it's shredded up a lot, but the moisture is staying in there. It's not drying out. And with the slop on top of the slate, there's just nothing to be had out there. And it is making life a little bit miserable for these guys trying to get traction. Up next, Wattens, New York's Triton Robbins and Crazy Train. This is going to be one of the last rides for this particular Crazy Train. It'll go off the Lloyd Twitchell's as Triton going to tear it down and rebuild it between seasons. It will become behind bars. They will be looking at a brand new Crazy Train for 2024. Another Eddie Micah built Crazy Train, but right now this old Eddie chassis that they debuted in late 2017. Looking real good out here. He's really keeping that momentum up. Seems to be working for him. He can really pitch the truck around, not having to wait for it to settle quite as much before he gets back on the throttle. Just kind of keeping the wheel speed up and sending the truck where he wants it to go. This end of the track is kind of the place to be. There's a lot more room to play down here. And again, when you get way down on the bottom side of the infield, it is paved. So you can kind of get the truck to stop, get a hold of the ground, and pick up some speed. You see right there where he is actually pavement. As he works his way around. Again, fighting the elements here this weekend. Never easy with these big Terra tires. Took on a little bit of the metal right there. Didn't even line it up for the ramp. Headed on back, Triton Robbins and Crazy Train. I don't know if they're going to consider that racing the bar or not. That was a pretty high momentum run for how sloppy it is out here. He was giving it all it had, but did not want to throw it away here tonight. Come back on a dry track tomorrow and put a lot more to it. Do not think they gave anything away, but that was very impressive considering what he had to work with. And again, you see right there some of his best hits came down here on this low side. Here comes flying right now in Stone Crusher. These guys always have the green light to hammer on it. I think it's what we're about to see. Look at that. Drifting donut cyclone time as he slides down toward the infield near turn 1. Independent front and rear steering coming into play here with Wright. He got kicked around by one of the car stacks and kick the rear steering and lean on it there a little bit to get it to straighten out. Looking good. Nice hit right there. That's the best hit we've seen off of that end of the track. Again, just like Robin said, you gotta keep that momentum up. It'll actually help you in this situation. Even though it makes it very hard to stop in a straight line, if you keep your wheel speed up, you can kind of force the truck around on a sloppy track like this. And you can see it is getting worse as they shred the top layer of soil up. It's mixing in with the water, and it is like a chocolate milkshake down there. Brian Wright comes back toward the race lanes with some speed. Big leap over the backside of the race lane. A lot of heat built up in that engine right now. It may have an oil leak. Seeing a lot of smoke out the left side of that thing. It may just be the mud getting up on the collectors though as well. How about that? A slap wheelie in the mud. Working the track hard, Brian Wright in Stone Crusher, wrapping up an awesome run in the big Ford out of Virginia Beach, Virginia, the Patrick Chassis machine rolling on, and I would say a lot of that is coming from the mud collecting up on that power plant. You can see very muddy headers he's got there. Huge hang time off of these race lines. That was incredible. Again, had that head of steam coming back. He just got way down track from it, saw it, went for it. And again, I said it before, but he had the best hits off of that side of the track and then pulls out a slap wheelie in the mud just off the rebound of the front tires. And takeover run there for Brian right now. Frank Krimmel out of Detroit, Michigan, driving the Chevy Silverado, hooked out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. This is the ride that's normally Brian Wright. Boy, he slid right up into the wall, pancaked it with the right side. Hopefully he did not cut that tire and bend that rim too bad. He'll start to lose a tire in this run. You know, Krimmel isn't afraid to send a truck. He's been around for quite some time. Got his start up in Michigan, crewing for guys like Jim Kohler in Avenger alongside Chris Bergeron, who drove Brutus for many, many years. Now working as one of the best hired guns in the business. Krimmel hammering on the big Silverado now, hooked out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. Working the low side now, and here's the other thing that I'm seeing as he does a speed pass back across the front stretch up and over the race lanes. One of the things I'm seeing is they are spitting so much mud down onto that asphalt that it's actually starting to make it slick down there, although it's not anywhere near as slick as this over here in turn 4, but this is a tough place to be if you don't have yourself straight, because you are not going to be able to hit those obstacles sideways and get much out of them. Laying down a good run, though. Don't take anything away from Frank Krimmel, working with what he's got in front of him. That was impressive. I don't know if it took over from Brian Wright, but it was a good run for Frank Krimmel and hooked. Again, a lot of momentum, and started by hitting the wall, so he actually got the pole straight up a little bit. Thought he may be out of it if he cut a tire or bent the rim too bad, but didn't come to pass, and he comes out there and just hammers on this thing, getting some nice hang time. Again, that center jump giving them just a ton of air, and it's there really for the tough trucks course, but the back of it was meant for stoppies, and then can't really use it for stoppies in the mud, so they're just hitting it wide open. It's working. Now Joe Foley from right across the border in Leicester, Massachusetts, comes out flying in the newly rebodied Axe. built by Jim Kohler, debuted in the summer of 2008. Vehicle has been through the ringer. The other truck that they debuted that year has already been retired. Foley does not want to let this one go. He loves this high center of gravity rear end V-cradle truck with the long four-link bars. Its slap wheel is maybe better than any other truck out there, but that's not going to be in play tonight, I don't think. Although Brian Wright got the beginning of a slap wheelie going. So we'll wait and see. Foley, though, carrying just a ton of momentum. He's out of control. Watch that topside wall. Normally backing up in a freestyle will hurt you, but you don't have many options out here tonight. If you get bound up in a corner and there's just not that traction, kind of push the truck around, although he is on the ragged edge. Those ladders do not last long. As I said, throwing pieces of them off. Kohler giving these guys the green light to do whatever they want, whenever they want, provided they fix it. And Foley clearly has this truck working tonight here in the mud in New York. Got a lot of friends and family in the crowd up there tonight, representing the firefighters of the U.S. and really all over the world, and that means a lot to Joe Foley. Headed for that sideways. Look at that! Got into it completely. Cattywampus got kicked straight by the other obstacle and just hammered on it. I don't know if the rear steering's done for or not, but he is not backing down one iota as he comes back out of turn one. It looks like it's straightened itself back out, and he's got a head of steam. Joe Foley and Axe, turn him on. Here, the big fire truck out of Columbus, Michigan, the man out of Leicester, Massachusetts, giving the fans a run to remember. Watch this thing. The Big Air. This is one of the first big hits he made, and see the ladder coming apart almost immediately. Then this almost got himself in big trouble here. Rear steer kicked on him. I don't know if he turned it himself or not. And then this hard landing. Of course, when he went back down to the other side of the track, you saw got kicked sideways, then got kicked back straight by the obstacle. The rear end hit and then just hammered it into the elevated car stack down there, and really showing him something in that big fire truck. Definitely making life very hard for this man, Preston Perez, from Frederick, Maryland, by way of Spokane, Washington, driving the black and green destruction machine. Toxic. Part of the Warp Motorsports team of Jay and Corey Snyder. Giving Perez this ride tonight. He's been impressive so far. Picked up a monster truck racing victory. Gonna try to lay it down here in freestyle. Remember, though, they've got 2 shows to go this weekend. One more after this one, so Perez doesn't want to throw it down too much. End up with nothing to play with tomorrow. We got the dry track, and these guys can really get that speed up and just hammer the obstacles. Right now, though, the big advantage is how slick it is. If you get on the sidewalls, the truck doesn't necessarily want to roll over because you slide back down. It also means it makes it harder to correct if you get up over center. So Perez gonna have to pick his spots as he works the track here in Toxic. Nicely done. Again, keeping the speed up. No wasted effort in this run so far, and that is tough to do on a track in this condition. Nice hit there for Perez, getting the big air. on the brakes toward that K-rail. That would have been an abrupt stop. Getting them in the spin cycle, Preston Perez, and the now brown and green Toxic. And Machado, oh, the rear steering didn't come back for him. Gonna have to take a look at that. There could be mud down in the little ball switch that controls the self-center and may be locked to one side, as you can see. Got very sideways off that run as we wait to find out who our freestyle winner is. We're going to have a look at some of Perez's moves out here on the track.
It's a unanimous decision for freestyle winner, G.I. Foley in Axe.
There you hear it, our freestyle winner, Joe Foley in Axe. There's no question, man. That was a wild run. Brian Wright definitely stepping it up in Stone Crusher. Really found the momentum on this track. Foley coming out, taking it to the next level. Close to home, we knew he was going to go hard here. As Tim Manny comes out for one more freestyle. Dirty 30 out of East Freetown, Massachusetts. Again, this is the guy who won the Mega Truck Bracket and the Monsters and Megas overall at both of the 2021 Night 1 and this guy was on rails that weekend. Didn't get a chance to compete last year. Comes back this year. Looking pretty good right now as he brings the crowd a little encore freestyle performance. This is where these megas like to be, out here in the mud. Manny gonna work hard out here. He wanted to give the crowd something. Didn't have the truck running for freestyle earlier, so they went back, got the repair done they needed, and brought the truck back out to do this. Just hammering whatever's in front of them. You can see how slick it is even for these guys. The thunder echoing through the mountains outside of Lebanon Valley, New York. The Lebanon Valley Speedway here in West Lebanon playing host to an excellent event in spite of the weather. Again, a tip of the hat to the Neverlift Motorsports crew for all of their hard work getting this track to come around here tonight, and they have even more work they're going to have to do tomorrow to make that thing work. As you can see, this track is shredded and mixed right now. Tim Manny wrapping up a freestyle run in front of the crowd. An awesome run for Tim Manny, and we want to give a congratulations to our champions here tonight. Preston Perez, our Monster Truck champion. Gary Sabella, our Mega Truck Racing and overall champion of Monsters and Megas here on Night 1 in 2023. And Joe Foley in Axe, your Monster Truck Freestyle champion. And big thanks to the Neverlift Motorsports crew. We are not done yet. We're going to have a full show coming at you next time from right here at a dry Lebanon Valley Speedway. Fingers crossed, but the weather looks good for the rest of the weekend. For all of us here at Back Channel Productions, thank you for joining us. We will see you next time.